And we are live. Welcome everybody to another installment of Coffee Chat. You probably noticed immediately that I am not Sarah Murdoch. Sarah is gallivanting around Europe somewhere doing social media, so I'm sure some of you are following her. I'm Reed Cohen, her collaborator in some tours at Imprint Tours. And so for our coffee chat today, our guest is Luciano Iannotti. Luciano, how are you today?
Fine. Hi, everybody. Thank you for inviting me. Very, very happy to be here and excited to share today with you.
Excellent. Okay, so this is our Patagonia week. We've got a really great lineup of programming this week. Tomorrow, Luciano and his good friend Javier are going to be doing some Argentine grilling for us, some barbecue. That's something, by the way, that's featured on the tour that we do of Patagonia. So that will be a nice preview of that. That'll be this same time tomorrow. On Wednesday, we're going to have Luciano back to talk to us. He's a passionate photographer and a birder, so we're going to sort of have a little more focused conversation on Wednesday about those things. We also have Osha Danielson, who is a Swedish colleague of ours who has lived in Buenos Aires on and off over the years, and she's going to be talking and hopefully demonstrating some Argentine tango for us on Wednesday. So Wednesday will be fun. Thursday, we've got Luciano again. He's going to do the PowerPoint presentation of Patagonia, and I'm going to be sort of co-hosting with him and firing questions at him. So we're going to get the visual side of this week of Patagonia on Thursday. So mark your calendars if you're interested to participate in those things. As always, if you have comments or questions, go ahead and use the chat function. I will check periodically to see if there's anything coming in. And of course, sometimes technology prevents me from seeing those things. I will always loop back at the end and see if there were questions or comments that you were really expecting a reply to. Definitely we will get to that, maybe not while we're broadcasting live here. So enough of the nuts and bolts. Let's jump right back in here with Luciano. So Luciano, you've done the same job that I do, guiding groups around, in your case in Argentina and Patagonia. How did you get started in the travel business? How did that happen for you?
Well, I was born in Argentina in the 80s, and just a few days after I was born, my father took the family to live to Ecuador, and I grew up right there on his farm. With the time, I just kept growing. It was obvious, and once I end school, I just went out to find some job. I started in a coffee place, and I think one day, having the worst table of my life, a guy just said, "You're very patient. You speak English?" "Yes, sir, I do." "Okay, come tomorrow to my office. I have something to offer you," and it was tourism. So I start in one of the biggest tour agencies in Ecuador, doing transfers and little services. But with the time, they saw something I didn't, and fortunately, they start to give me a lot of training and stuff. With the time, I turned to be a naturalist guide, and I came back to my beautiful Argentina, and well, I make my naturalist guide instruction. So this is how everything starts. Like, all I do when I was a child on my father's ranch as a game, today is my profession.
Very nice. By the way, I should have started with, tell everybody what that is we're looking at behind you.
Well, this beautiful mountain down here is the Cerro Torre. It was very famous. It has a lot of stories, like the first climber, who was Italian, Seccia de Maestri. He just went up to the hill with Tony Eger, and Tony Eger had an accident and he died, and the camera was with him. So they never could prove they really went up to the Cerro Torre. So because of him, they baptized the next, they call it Torre, Eger, Heron, and Standard. This one. um, Well, with the time they found the boat and stuff, and this guy, Secretary Mastery, he went up again, this time with a compressor to just leave evidence that he was there. And when he came down, he left the compressor up to show people I was here. So it's a great story. And that makes it one of my favorite places in Patagonia. When I wake up every day, I have a huge print of that peak just in front of me. And I just wake up every day wishing I could be there again. So just waiting for the next season, hoping Mr. COVID let me be there with my groups. Yeah.
Fingers crossed. So, and that's in Torre del Paine's National Park there in Chile, right?
Well, no, this is in Argentina.
Okay.
It's a few kilometers away of, let's say like you have Torres del Paine, then you have a bit north the Moreno Glacier. And by car, you do from the Calafate city to the north, something like 215 km to an area
Right.
named El Chalten. So you
Okay.
have the Fitzroy Mountain, which is the highlight of the area, and then you have this guy.
Right. Okay. Yep. I was out of my reckoning a little bit there. So,
No
so
worries.
many spectacular mountain ranges and peaks to see there. And I've not yet been to Patagonia. I'm so excited to be bringing groups down next year and seeing some of these places that have been in my travel imagination for many, many years. So, Luciano, just as a curiosity for me and for our viewers,
Sure.
maybe. You've got a very Italian name. Is there some connection there? Is there some heritage? What's the story with that Italian name?
Well, my mother and only four of my grandparents were Italian.
Okay. Uh,
My father was born in Argentina. Sorry.
right.
My father was born in Argentina. And my mother was Italian.
Okay. So is there a big Italian expatriate population in Argentina?
Well, yes, during the very late 1800s and beginning of 1900s, Argentina was growing as a big nation in that moment. And they were offering lands for people from Europe to come to work to the country. So the immigrants we were having were mostly from Italy, places like Germany, maybe Russia, Poland. I mean, Polish people, even North Americans used to migrate to Argentina in the very early 1900s.
Okay. And then you mentioned that you got your start in Ecuador. So I didn't if maybe I just faded out there for a minute, but what's that story? You said you were happy to return to your beloved Argentina. So and it sounds like you are Argentine, that's where you're born. So how did you end up in tourism in Ecuador? How did that happen?
Well, I'll tell you, like my father had to move there. He's got a very great opportunity and he made it very well. So I grew up there, and in the time I ended school, I did a little backpacking, and with the time I was looking something different to work. And because I didn't have a profession yet, I was just ending school, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. Um, I used to look for a job in airlines or places related to travel, but I never thought I was gonna do my life in tourism.
Right.
My plan was to be a farmer, just like my father was. But the moment I've been in touch with taking people to national parks, and because of the little experience the ranch gave me when I was a child, I turned to be a guide for protected areas and those kind of places. So for me, it was like a great opportunity. I took it and I made my whole career up there. So I'm already 21 years working in tourism business.
Wow. Well, you must have started when you were 10 years old, though. You don't look old
9.
enough. You don't even have any gray in your beard here, Luciano. Maybe just a teeny bit. So
Well,
you
in fact, I shaved myself since I was 13.
okay.
Yeah, you can imagine. So I was the only one of my of in the school of my course who used to know how to shave, and I used to go there with paper or with some cards and stuff, and was like kind of funny.
Yeah. I just was having a conversation yesterday. There's a disclaimer. This has nothing to do with travel. I was saying, as boys, when we're growing up, we want to be men so badly. We want to be grown up. We even before we really need to shave, we're trying to shave or pretend that we're shaving and stuff. And then you spend the whole rest of your life wishing you didn't have to, you know, so be, that, at least that was my experience. Right. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Well,
let's get
sometimes
back to
people
travel.
say I lose
Sorry,
some
go ahead.
hair, and I say I lose it just from the brows to the top. The rest, I'm all hair.
That's right. Okay. Yeah. All right. So obviously, so language was a door opener for you. The fact that you spoke English. What's the story there? Was that just something that you were interested in school, or was there some other influence that helped you to develop your really good English?
um, well, one of the biggest issues for me when I was a child was studying. I really hate studying. I did have all problems you can imagine in school. I was never the bad boy. I mean, I used to have great behavior, but just don't get me to study because that was not for me at the moment. Once we did a trip to the States, I was 14. And one day I start to talk with my father, like complain to him and says, why you send me to do all this stuff? And he says, because you speak English. I only had the grammar of school. I say, I don't. And then he says, why are we doing all of this if you wouldn't speak English? And then realized that I had English in myself. I mean, the little things I learned in school, I had it somewhere inside me. So after that, I came back and I started to realize that one of the only things I was good in was English. And then I started liking it.
Mhm.
With the time when I started working tourism, was a challenge for me. I mean, I said, "Oh, all right, I don't think I will ever study English again. So the English I have to make it better somehow. So then I taught myself to copy. So whenever I hear expression, a way to pronounce a word, or I just try to copy myself. So if I am in a city for 1 week, immediately, like myself, adopt the accent or the way they pronounce words, and immediately I can do it. So it's something who nowadays is automatically, and I can tell that I use in a normal day of my life, I use more English than Spanish because all the agencies I work with, they are from Australia, from England. They are all English speaking. So for me, it was been a great asset.
I see. Okay, well, that's interesting. You know, of course, I've been doing these sort of interviews for people all around the world, and there's some common themes that English is a key to opening many doors. It is certainly the global language now, and increasingly so. So we monoglot Americans that only speak English are just lucky, I guess. I certainly feel lucky that I've had a career in travel. I speak German reasonably well. I would not fluent, right? But I can muddle through a conversation. I can manage a tour, and even less so with Italian. I speak just a smattering of Italian, but I wouldn't want to speak it in front of you. But anyway, and yet I've been able to be successful because English is the language of travel. So
It
um,
is.
so okay, I'm looking down at my questions here. Was there anybody that was a role model for you going into travel, or I know it sounded sort of serendipitous, of course, but was there anybody that had an influence on you?
Well, uh, everything happened with no planning. Um, at the beginning, I just took opportunity to do a job. I was still thinking, what am I going to do of my life? But with the time, I got, in my free time, if I was looking for the TV, I grew up looking to Jacques Cousteau or David Attenborough and lots of nature documentaries. And I grew up dreaming I could do that. And I never saw it as a possibility in my life. Was like, it was very far of my possibilities. And I never thought I could get in touch with something like. With the time when I had let's say a training for taking tourists to the Galapagos Islands. I was doing all the operation for some agencies like Travel Collection and Kone. Um, just the operation to the airport, and sometimes even just letting them into the Galapagos and return, just like taking the flight with them and returning with the other group. So they get me a training with a guide whose name is Marcos Cruz. He was a climber, and he wrote lots of books of mountains of Ecuador with great photos. So when I saw him teaching and giving all the information I was needing, I have this thing in myself like, wow, I want to be like him.
Mhm.
And with the time I could be in touch with him, I bought some of his books. One day I could call him and thanks him, and that was it, like the last contact. And then I just made my life going up with tourism. I can tell it just happens in my life, but once I saw the opportunity, I knew that was for me, and I took it on.
Yeah. People always say to me, "Oh, you're so lucky to do what you do." And I say, "Well, there was a little bit of luck, but it was also a lot of choices that I made and
Sure,
sacrifices I made and prioritizing that I made." And almost everybody has that kind of story. That we had some good fortune for sure,
sure.
but we also made some decisions that were important for getting us where we are. So speaking of that, I mean, I can just see from your demeanor that you're like me, that you can't imagine really doing anything else. It's such a great life and lifestyle. But tell us, what is it that you most enjoy about this lifestyle that you have?
Well, I tell you, I am not a person for an office. If you sit me in an office for 1 and 2 days, you better call a doctor, or you better get me in some mental health place. And I'm true. I mean, I really mean it.
Yeah.
Um, I need to be outside. Uh, I had a very hard story when I was a child, and part of that, just to not go in deep with that, I was told that I was never going to walk again on my legs.
Wow.
Yeah, I had a very, very great two accidents in my childhood, and the second one was terrible. And when the doctor said that, I just told him, I'm going to walk on my legs, I'm going to go to the mountains, and I'm going to take people to see the mountains. And the very day it happened. And I stayed in touch with him, and I sent him photos of my hikes and all the stuff, and he loved them. Like he print them and he put it under the glass of his desk, and he has this because we did the work together. He put all his knowledge, and I put all my will. So after that, it's like I can't just be working in an office, being a beautiful world outside. And once I met Patagonia, I got in love of Patagonia, and I said, okay, this is my place. This is where I want to be a guide.
Mm.
So this is how it happens.
Wow.
Was a great challenge for me. The coast was amazing, and but once I'm here, it's like I'm not gonna quit yet.
That's a fantastic story. I'm glad we stumbled onto that. What a great inspiration that is. Thank you for sharing that. Well, and it sounds like that was it was your destiny to end up where you are. Absolutely.
I believe it. I really believe it. Yeah.
Okay, but now I'm going to ask a tougher question. Is there a side of this life that is a challenge for you? What is it that you least enjoy about your life?
Well, I'm not sure about that question. Some like every job, you always have a hard day. Sometimes you do have a hard group. Like when you live in a group, you are the only person who cannot have a headache. You cannot have a bad day. You cannot be sick. Um, you are the only person who is working, and it's like people's holidays are your shoulders, and you really need to be there for them. They need you. I mean, they pay a lot of money for you to be there. So to wake up a morning and say, well guys, I don't feel very well, is not an answer.
Right.
um, and sometimes, I mean, I've been doing those hikes to these beautiful mountains with headaches, with a migraine, with any single pain you can imagine, with a twisted ankle. Once I had an accident and I twisted my ankle, and I did the hikes anyway. Sometimes it's risk. I mean, I take my risk, but I know when to stop, because I am responsible for all that people. So there is a limit that if I have to say, guys, this is it, I can't no more, I will. but I mean, you put all your energy, and sometimes it's not enough. Sometimes it's like it's very hard. Like if I am a tourist and I go traveling, this is a backpack that you take with you, the backpack of your life, the problems you are carrying with you, the things that you cannot take off of yourself, and you don't see it, and sometimes you just throw all that into somebody's shoulder, and normally this is us.
Mm.
And but one day I understood that probably I am the only person they can do that with. And it turns like a little patient and listen, because maybe that's what they need, somebody to listen, and somebody to tell a word who give hope, um, or to make them see the things in a different way. And so it's very hard to say what is, always something happen. You need to have plans C, D, E, F for everything. It's like plan B could not be enough. You need at least 4 or 5. So all the time thinking what can happen later and be ready for that. Um, what I can tell is it's a very free job, but the cost could be very, very hard. It cost me already 2 relationships, um, because you're never there, and you cannot tell the person to wait there for you. So there is many things around that you have to deal with, and then you look to your back and you say, I did all this fight, what for? I mean, I arrived here fighting all, so I have 2 choices. Should I keep going, or should I look for other thing? And until now my answer is, come on, let's keep going. So I hope that answered your question.
Oh, I was just about to say another great answer. I think, of course, there are downsides to our job, but
Sure.
what I try to remind myself is whatever headaches I'm having, uh, tough tour members or train strike or whatever, they're what we would call first world problems. I mean, in India, people are dying right now
Sure.
because of COVID, right? And I'm upset because we have to wait 2 hours longer than I expected to. Come on, and I think part of our job is to get that across to everybody is
Sure.
life isn't perfect, things don't go well perfectly every time. um, all right, so let's talk a little bit about the resource. What is your apart from the image you have behind you, what's your favorite place to take people in Patagonia?
Well, this is one of the areas I can tell could be my top one. In the area, you have also the Fitzroy, which is fantastic. The hikes are very nice. Um, the town is great. Something I love is like you end the hike just getting into the town, and the main street is full of breweries and good restaurants. And so I love to maybe stop with a group to have a beer. Like, do we have to go to the hotel yet? Come on, guys. We've
is
been
that,
walking the whole day.
is that Calafate that you're referring to, or is there some other village?
It's named Chalten, but yes, it's like 200 km to the north of Calafate.
Okay.
It's like Calafate is the gateway for all those places.
Right.
Most of the tours, you land in Calafate and you take 3 hours transfer to this place named El Chalten. And the place is it's just a little town. They might have something like 1,500 inhabitants. And but you go in season in the main street and you see all those backpackers and hikers and climbers going and coming, and give you that sense that, well, I mean, if somebody's dressing a tie, they don't believe to this town. Everyone goes for mountain, everyone loves what they do. It's hiking all around, so it's a fantastic place to see. Also, there are some places like in winter, a place which is not very visited for foreigners, like the kind of tourism we're doing, is named Port Madryn, and they have the whale season in winter. So you have the Franca whale, and also they have one of the biggest penguins nesting area in South America. So, and it's all very near. a great area to see too. So something which is fantastic is you do kayak and the whales are just swimming behind you. So it's a great place to go. I haven't been there for longer and I'm very wishing. It is another place because I love to see wildlife named Port Desire, Puerto Deseado, the name in Spanish, but the original name was Port Desire in English. And they have an geographic accident who used to be the river, but when the river loses the strength of water, the currents, the sea came inside. So you are like going in a boat ride or kayaking between two walls of rock with the water of the ocean full of cormorants of different species, penguins all around. If you take a boat, you have the dolphins just jumping next to you. It's like some people in the town consider the place like a little Galapagos. So that's also one of my favorite places. I've been there like 1 or 2 times, and I'm wishing I could be back there.
Now, obviously, those are two places that are on the coast of Argentina, but
They are.
geographically, north south, how far down are they?
Well, the first one is in the coast of Argentina to the north, in the Patagonian coast.
Okay.
And the second one is like we can almost make a straight line from Calafate to the ocean and could be a bit upper. So more or less to give an idea, where would that be?
Okay. So
Like,
halfway down, just
yeah,
roughly.
more or less, yes.
For our viewers, I know where Calafate is, but for our viewers, we'll just say halfway down. Just that was just a curiosity. So what about now? Okay, let's go beyond Patagonia. Let's just say Argentina in general. Is there what would be the next thing that people should absolutely not miss in Argentina?
Well, this is a destiny which who is growing a lot. That was one of the lands of Douglas Tompkins. Well, now the area used to be a lot of farms around, but most of them are turning into a tourism. This is a wetland area which is named Esteros del Iberá. Iberá is a native word from the Guarani culture, and it means brighty water. And this place could have maybe the best sunsets you could see in your life. And the reflection on the water is fantastic. So you get like very yellow and reddish, amazing sunsets. It's like a little Everglades in the middle of the north of Argentina, full of at least 2 kinds of caimans, lots of birds, great wildlife all around, and it's just wetlands. Depending the area you go, you can really do different activities. Like some of the farmers, they take you to take the cattle to the other place, and they used to make the cattle swim on those esteros, as they call those waterlands. It's a place fantastic to see wildlife. Place I like a lot. Then, well, of course, you know, the Iguazu Falls are amazing. The good thing is you can do 2 countries and you just need 2 days to do it. So you can do 1 half day in Brazil and 1 full day in Argentina. I don't like to put the border in the middle. I present the area to my people all the time like Iguazu Republic.
Right. Okay.
Right, because in that area we work together with Brazilians, and it's like the border make division, and we really do a great work together as 2 countries. And the good thing is, if you erase the line, it's like you don't think what is better, Argentina or Brazil. Come on, it's Iguazu. Will be incredible from both of the sides. And the thing is, you cannot do one without the other. If you're there, come on, do both. It's just 1 more day, just have 1 more day.
Yeah.
In fact, many people goes to do Brazil in the morning and then they take the plane back to Rio de Janeiro because how easy it is to see it.
Yeah. Yeah. And after all, a border is just really an arbitrary line on a map somewhere, right? It's
It is.
culturally speaking, ethnically speaking, linguistically speaking, it probably, you know, makes no difference whatsoever. I've been fortunate. I've seen Niagara Falls here in the United States, and I've been to Victoria Falls in Africa a number of times. But for the people that I know that have seen all three, they say Iguazu is the waterfall, right? Is that it is the most spectacular. Do you want to weigh in on that ranking?
Well, actually, I think we always have a favorite. Like I've been in Niagara when I was child, and I still remembering the falls. I saw them from the Canadian side, but I still have to see it from North America. You can say, come on, it's the same waterfall. Yes, but the view change. If you see the street for the from the walk side of the front, you will see different buildings, right? And it's the same street. So the view, the point of view changes. So I think it's you have to do both. I wish I could see Victoria Falls. So for me, I do not know if I would have a favorite. If you listen what people feels, sometimes people is just traveling around South America and what they really love is Iguazu. But then they go to Torres del Paine. Chile is a great place to see from south to north. There is no place in Chile that you will say, I don't want to see it. You just go for it. They have a beautiful portion of the continent. Brazil is fantastic. I mean, South America is a place to come and travel around. And wherever you go, you will be amazed of the food, of the people. You will be amazed of the landscapes you will have around. So if you never been in South America and you can do a full trip in South America, you will have a great experience.
Yeah. And yeah, I like asking these sort of questions, but they're absolutely just for fun. I mean,
Please.
everybody can have their own opinion, and it's fun to compare. But I'm excited. I'm kind of a waterfall guy. My daughter makes fun of me because I always want to hike to waterfalls and stuff. She usually enjoys them once we get there, but she would say that this is a special niche interest of mine. So I'm excited to complete the trifecta and see the big three. But I also someday want to get to Venezuela and go see Angel Falls, but which I understand is quite difficult, but to the logistics. But that's one of those things that I want to do sometime in the future. I want to do that. Now, of course, on Wednesday we're going to talk more about photography, and I'm sure you're going to share some of your
Sure.
work with our viewers. But very briefly, just for our discussion today, how have you integrated that interest into your work, into your guiding?
Well, it was another thing that wasn't planned. When I start to understand that I love tourism, that my life was in touch with tourism. When I was a child, I used to do a lot of camping and backpacking. It's like I have two big influence, and they are both my brothers. We are five. I mean, four males and one female, which is my little sister. But let's say that the first one and the third, I am the fourth. The first one and the third, they used to do a lot of camping. So the first one, the bigger one, he's more like a romantic for camping. Like he likes the style, what means camping. And the other was more for adventure, for fishing. And they were, I can tell, about traveling and camping, and somehow my mentors. So it's like I think I keep from both of them the romanticism of what means traveling and go camping, and the adventure for maybe fishing because that's going to be our food, or the weather or whatever thing is going to be around of that trip. When I decided I wanted to be working in tourism related with the national parks, especially, and protected areas, saw a book of the Amazon jungle. And I bought the book because for me was incredible. Book was just a tour guide of the of the jungle, and I saw a photo in the middle of a jaguar. And I looked to my brother and I told him, listen, I will study photography and this is what I want to do. but it was going to be only a tool for my biologics, we can tell. But once I start to get in touch with black and white, to develop the films, and I start to do the stuff at home, then I have a friend, and we were hunting opportunities every weekend to go to take pictures to events in the street. And we took it very personal. It was very important for us in that time. I discovered a different word, and for me, it started to mean everything. So it's like after that, um, it was a time that I have a kind of obsession for the photo. To whatever I was watching was like potential imagine for a great picture. So that was like a great asset for me. I mean, that really, really gave a lot of sense to my life, and I wasn't expecting for that. I just thought I was gonna pick the camera with me and sometimes get a good photo. But with time, I just love it. For me to travel with the camera in my hand, sometimes I even guide with the camera in my hand, because once I get free time, I just want to go to take that beautiful pic I am thinking. And then I just wish I could get back home to print it. So this is how it starts.
Mhm. I know I'm not a real photographer, but I'd say I'm better than the typical snapshot point and shoot guy. And when I have a group where there are 4 or 5 or 6 people that are really passionate about photography, it adds to the tour, actually, for everybody, for the but you know, those a handful of people like that are willing to get up early in the morning and maybe hire a taxi to get out and get some dawn photographs, or after dinner, jump in a tuk-tuk to go to Ayutthaya because they've illuminated the monuments there. And I love tagging along just for the energy and the fun, and in the hopes that that I can get a good shot here and there as well. So I find that it really adds something fun to the tours. I don't. This might be a tough question, but how's travel in Argentina different than other countries? Is that something you can comment on?
With the time, I've been finding different things. I never found Argentina like tough to travel. It is in big cities, a lot of care to take, because big cities you find some danger. It's like it's not common that somebody come with a knife to steal you, but they take your attention there in your wallet right there. So they're very, very quick to steal backpacks and stuff. Um, in fact, one of the things, once I have an experience in Brazil, that we went to a restaurant, and the kids from the street came to steal the restaurant. And fortunately, I just before leave gave a safety briefing, and everybody knew what to do. So we have nothing to be stolen with. And those kids came around to the table, and they didn't find anything. And when they left, they told me, "You made this happen." And I was shocked, because I mean, you know, you never expect a restaurant to be robbed with all your tourists inside. I mean, I
Right.
come a lot to this place, and never something like this happened. I was terrified.
Yeah.
But then they say, I mean, you made it safe. So,
That
you know, I could never realize if they didn't tell me that. I was just doing my job.
right.
But then sometimes you understand how important it is to follow a little rule, right? Because I do it for them, but maybe I don't do it for me.
Right. Right.
You know, I mean,
That's pretty amazing and high praise, right, from the thieves themselves.
yeah.
A strange accolade there. Um, You know, I almost hate to branch off to this next subject, but I think it's important we talk a little bit about COVID-19 and the pandemic, and how are I have to be honest, I've not been paying attention to Patagonia, to Chile and Argentina, how things are going there. So from your perspective, how is that issue progressing in Argentina? How has been the response?
Um, will tell you what I see. I don't really watch TV. I think TV is very toxic. So normally I love to get into the movies and some of the news in the internet. But what I've been watching around of me, the government took lots of let's say protocols for COVID-19. Um, and we did have some season, like internal tourism season, like Argentines could be traveling around the country. I haven't seen too much tourists around. Once you get to the airport, I mean, before you leave home, you might get to a website, you have to fill up a form. In that form, you have to, how is, oh, my English is gone, but you have to just add also your negative PCR. So this paper will not come to your email until you don't add your PCR and the negative one. You have to print it and go to the airport with that. Once you get to Argentina, somebody take those papers and they send you to make another PCR in the local airport once you arrive, and you have to pay for it. So that thing can take a lot more, but at least they are making the best possible to make COVID not still coming into the country.
Right.
So you don't leave the airport until you have the results of your test. So if yours is positive, they just send you to a hotel with a doctor, and you will have to take all the cost. And if you are like, if you didn't show any, I mean, you're negative, you have to go home, but you have to do quarantine for 10 more days. So at this moment, we're trying to see what's going to happen with the groups, because if you are like 2 days in a country, how is that going to move, right? Maybe if I'm traveling in Patagonia, the day we'll leave, probably we're not going to be able to make a PCR 2 days before because we'll be on hike. So all of these things, we're still trying to figure out how are they going to happen.
How is it affecting the local population though? Is that battle being won? Are things moving in the right direction?
I will say yes and no. It happened this way. There's a lot of people who they win what they work in a day. They don't really have a job. They just look opportunities. They make a little money during the day and they go back home. So if you tell them to be at home for 15 days, no working, you have two choices. Or you go to the street and you die with COVID, or you stay at home and you die of hunger because you couldn't get money enough to buy food for your family. So it's very hard to keep people at home when you have a lot of poverty in a population that needs to go out, forget a little money, forget a little food to their homes. This was like probably the first challenge in the local population. Then, well, restaurants were shut for longer, so the government started to see the way of how to open them. So they start to look for the ones who have a little roof, or the ones who can have the chairs and the tables up in the walk sides, and just a few people in. You cannot have more than, let's say, imagine 30% of your real capacity. So they try to make things go. If you go to a shop to buy something, you probably go on the door and say, oh, give me that one and that, and you cannot go inside to the shop. You have to do everything from outside. So they are trying to do the best possible for keep economy going, and the curve to keep going down, which is the hardest.
Yeah. Is there vaccine production and distribution going on there in Argentina? Do they have that going?
It is going on. Lots of, I mean, I can say very big part of the population has already the first shot, and many of them already the second. But we can tell that a lot of people already had at least one shot, which is a good thing. In the news, I can see sometimes, like in the social media, like there is a plane coming with I don't know, like some thousand of millions of vaccines to the country. Then you really don't know what they do and how they do it. I haven't seen like a control of we have vaccinated this much of population. I haven't seen it yet. But you talk with people and they say, oh, I already had vaccine, which is like a great thing for them. And people who still thinking like, no, I'm not gonna get it because I don't know, um, maybe they will get like, I have a friend who made this joke who made me laugh a lot about in February. I went to the States and I didn't really think about, but I just went to a pharmacy to buy some stuff, and a doctor in the pharmacy said, "Hey, come here, get vaccinated." All right, and I've got a shot. So the same happened to a colleague of mine who was right there, and he just came. I asked him, "Hey, did you have the shot?" And he started to say something like, "Vote for Biden, vote for Biden." Well, so just to show me that he got the shot. Who was like very, very, very
Didn't know that
funny.
kind of news was getting out of the country. So, that's funny. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap us up here because I know we're gonna have you on again a couple more times this week, Luciano. And I want to just say to our viewers that this is one of those days that even though you see me looking down every once in a while and checking, I could not see if there were any comments or questions coming in. I'll follow up with that when we're done here. And again, we're going to be having Javier on tomorrow with Luciano. We're going to be doing some grilling. We got photography and birding and tango coming up this week, as well as the PowerPoint presentation. So I hope you can tune in again, or as you know, you can always come and watch the recording if you're unable to watch live. Before we let Luciano go, whenever there's time, I like to just ask something strictly for fun and has nothing serious to do with travel. So if you could meet any historical figure, anybody from history, who would that be? And why?
um, I think it could be Jesus.
Jesus. Okay.
Yep. I think I read a lot the Bible, and I take it not as something religious. I think there is a lot of very great teachings up there, and it's like I consider him a man who tried to change the world with love and not with guns, or not with any. I mean, he said you could do this or that, you choose, and this is what I feel when I read. But if I could ever meet somebody, it'll be him.
Okay. I love that answer. What's the first thing you would ask him?
Well, that's a great question. Maybe something who gets me crazy. I love geology. I don't really, I do not know, have any great idea of, just very, very basic. But maybe I will love to see how the world was made.
Okay.
That can be one
Shoot
of,
for the moon.
yeah, something like that.
No pun intended, right?
Show me
Okay.
the galaxy or something like that. Yeah.
Okay, Luciano, thank you again so much for coming on and spending this time with us and sharing your passion for Patagonia, for Argentina, and the travel world down there. Really look forward to the rest of the week and learning more from you about your country. To all of our viewers, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Reed Cohen of Imprint Tours. I want you to keep on traveling, even if it's virtually, as with these programs that we've been producing. I believe I know Sarah's coming home tomorrow, but it's probably going to be me all week. So I apologize for that. So keep on traveling and travel with intent. Luciano, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye bye, everyone.